So I'd say now we move to the first panel, which is gonna led by Simona Bonfante. The focus is the rule of law. I don't know if Simona wants to do a brief introduction, and in the meantime, I'm checking if everything.
I think everybody's here now. Thank you, Virginia. Good morning, everybody. Yes, this session is dedicated to rule of law and fundamental rights. But actually, for most citizens, the concept of rule of law means basically nothing or something vague or theoretical. So this unawareness dramatically changes once someone experiences on his own skin what a lack or a violation of the rule of law can imply. Indeed, at least in my experience, among top experts of rule of law, I could count jail's inmates, as they are every day living in a condition of semi-permanent violation of their minimum rights. So at least it is in Italy. Well, today we are going to discuss about what citizens can do to preserve and fight for their rights and their fundamental freedoms. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Simona Bonfante, freelance journalist and an activist with Eumans. I'm actually happy to introduce our panelists. I think they are all here. Annalisa Angeri, an activist with Eumans and a campaigner for an ECI on the rule of law, indeed, which can now be signed at ForMyRights.eu. Then we have Filippo di Agostini. Here you are. He's an activist with Action Laique, Belgo-Italienne. He's going to talk us about civic liberties. Then we have Veneta Magistrelli. Here you are. Hi, Veneta. She's a promoter of an ECI aimed to stop corruption in Europe. This ECI can be signed at stopcorruption.eu, stop-corruption.eu. She's going to talk about this initiative. Then we have Federico Anghelè. Hi. He's from the Good Lobby. He's the director of the Italian branch. And the Good Lobby is a quite well-known organization lobbying for good. But we also have a special guest. He's Benny Tai. He's a professor of law at the University of Hong Kong. He's a leader of the pro-democracy non-violent movement since the Occupy Central mobilization in 2014. And last April, Benny was sentenced to 16 months in prison for conspiracy, but was released on bail last August. So just in time to inspire the Project Storm, a mobilization for the pro-democrats to win the district council elections held in Hong Kong last November, where, as known, the pro-democracy camp finally achieved a landslide victory. Well, we are really honored to have the opportunity to hear Benny today. Unfortunately, he's not here with us in person, but he's with us in video. We can start with him. Please.
Hello, I'm Benny Tai. I'm associate professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Hong Kong. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about the situation of Hong Kong, especially the rule of law and democracy in Hong Kong. As most
If
of
you
you
use your
may
headphones.
know, that Hong Kong was a British colony before. Benny Tai, I'm associate professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Hong Kong. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about the situation of Hong Kong, especially the rule of law and democracy in Hong Kong. As most of you may know, that Hong Kong was a British colony before 1997, and Hong Kong has inherited the common law legal system, and so to a certain extent that Hong Kong can maintain a very high level of the rule of law before the transfer of sovereignty. Now, we have judicial independence and we have a system of law to protect the fundamental rights of Hong Kong people. Even though we did not have a democratic system or democratic election at that time, but still the rule of law could be maintained, and mainly through the democratically elected Parliament of the United Kingdom, that the colonial government of Hong Kong was still under sufficient check, not only by the judiciary, but also to a certain extent by the lawmaking body, the legislature, and also especially the connection with a democratically elected Parliament in the United Kingdom. Now, the situation changed after the transfer of sovereignty in 1997. Now, surely the highest authorities in China is not like in the United Kingdom, an elected body. And so the situation after the transfer of sovereignty is that we have a kind of democratic deficit in our rule of law system. Now, in the past, the rule of law system, to a certain extent, could be maintained was because, as I mentioned, the democratically elected Parliament of the United Kingdom, that's our sovereign master before the transfer of sovereignty. But now the new sovereign master, China, could not provide this kind of democratic check on the powers of the colonial government, or I mean the special administrative government in Hong Kong. And that makes the rule of law in Hong Kong rather insecure, or you can say that is put on a rather flimsy foundation. And yes, we could still have an independent court, but without a democratically elected lawmaking body to provide that kind of democratic check to make the officials accountable. And our chief executive, which is very much like the president or the parliament, I mean the prime minister of a state, was also not democratically elected by Hong Kong people. So without this democratic right by the Hong Kong people, you'll find that the rule of law in Hong Kong is kind of facing challenges. And that's the situation in around 2013, 2014, when I initiated the Occupy Central with Love and Peace movement. Now that was a movement striving for democratic reform in the Hong Kong system. And we hope that the chief executive and also all members of the lawmaking body, called the Legislative Council of Hong Kong, would be elected by universal suffrage. And so in order to generate pressure on the Chinese government to honor, actually that's a promise in the constitutional instrument of Hong Kong. We call it the Basic Law of Hong Kong, that the chief executive and all members of the Legislative Council will be elected by universal suffrage. So we organize a civil disobedience action to generate more political pressure on the Chinese government, hoping that it would honor the promise. But after 79 days of occupation on the streets in September to December 2014, the Chinese government still refused to accept our demand, and so the existing system of government is still not elected by Hong Kong people directly. So after the occupation in 2014, actually the Chinese government has tightened its control over Hong Kong and used various methods to suppress the demands for democratic change, and use ways to weaken the civil society and even the courts, and making the court less capable to check the powers of the government. Now, so for the few years after the occupation in 2014, the situation seems to be actually very bad, and many people was very frustrated and felt very powerlessness under that kind of situation. But just totally unexpected, in June 2019, this year, that thousands and thousands of people stand up again to fight against a bill put forward by the government trying to integrate the Hong Kong legal system with the mainland legal system, the Chinese legal system, concerning the extradition matters. And that might be the reason that the Hong Kong people, they could not stand any more of the further suppression by the Chinese government. Not only that, not only that the Chinese government refused to honor the promise in the Basic Law to have genuine democracy, but actually in the past few years, the suppression we suffer, and so Hong Kong people stand up again. And we have organized protests, public gatherings, and civil disobedience action. But as the system, system in Hong Kong is getting more and more unjust, and so some protesters resorted to more radical actions and using a certain degree of violence to damage property, to express their anger, and also to generate more pressure on the government to consider the demands of Hong Kong people. So universal suffrage is still one of the demands of the Hong Kong protesters. Now, no one can foresee the future, but we can see that the protests are still continuing. Hong Kong people have not given up in the fight for democracy, because that's totally related with the rule of law that we all treasure. And without democratic election, the rule of law we could have will be rather insecure, and therefore we see that democracy and the rule of law cannot be separated, and that's also the things we are fighting for. Not knowing the future, not knowing when we could achieve our goal, but surely Hong Kong people will not give up and will continue our fight for the rule of law and democracy. I hope that in the future, I have the opportunity to speak directly to all of you, and I also hope that by that time, some better story can be told about the situation of the rule of law and democracy in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Well, I find quite depressing that while in Hong Kong they are fighting for electoral democracy, we who can benefit from this can see how it can be how can be used also against citizens. We have just seen in UK, we have seen it for decades in Italy, we are seeing it in Hungary or in Poland. So there's a lot to do, a lot to do with democracy, not only electoral, by the electoral way. By the way, I give the stage to Annalisa Angeri. Annalisa, if you're ready.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Annalisa Angieri, legal expert and Eumans activist. I would like to talk with you about the work that humans can do with European institutions and what already done with European Economic and Social Committee. And then, of course, I would like to talk a bit about the initiative, the European Citizen Initiative we are supporting on the respect of the rule of law within the European Union. The European Economic and Social Committee established in 2018 a group on fundamental rights and rule of law. It's an horizontal body within the committee tasked to provide a forum for European civil society organization to meet and discuss fundamental rights, democracy and rule of law. It shall promote the respect for European values listed in Article 2 of the treaty, allowing for the exchange of good practices, basically. To this aim, the group hosts hearings, conferences, and carry out country visits with the aim of identifying trends in Europe concerning fundamental rights, rule of law, in as much as they develop in national context. And in 2018-19, the group visited Romania, Poland, Hungary, Austria, France, Bulgaria. An interim report about this has been issued already. And we are waiting for the final version later on, the very last visit to Italy, which was held on 5 and 6 December. Eumans joined this conference, this seminar, and I was there. Of course, I introduced Eumans to the committee, and I talked about the initiative we are supporting on respect of rule of law. It was a discussion about a couple of hours on the independence of the judiciary. As you well know, an efficient, impartial, and independent justice is the best expression of the rule of law. And then the creation of an objective and impartial evaluation mechanism to verify the application of the European values by all member states is essential. Then let's talk about the initiative we are supporting, which is promoted firstly by the European movement, Vice President Pier Virgilio D'Astoli, and of course Marco Cappato, leaders of Eumans. And that's about the respect of rule of law within the European Union. It aims to reform the EU legislation in order to strengthen mutual trust between member states and to facilitate the enforcement of European laws on judicial cooperation. But how the initiative was born? Not only looking at the current situation in Eastern Europe. I think it was actually looking at the inefficient system to prevent a breach of rule of law. So as the president of the European Economic and Social Committee said yesterday, there is a missing part of the legislation. The part missing is the one which should avoid to trigger Article 7. So, as we will know, an ECI cannot amend a treaty, but it can solicit the legislator, European legislator, European Commission, for a new proposal of a directive, a package, proposal for regulations. And according to, I would say more, according to the election speech of Ms. von der Leyen, her previous declaration, as well as declarations of the incoming Commissioner for Justice, Mr. European Commission communication of April and July of this year, we are definitely moving in the same direction and by a bottom-up initiatives. A couple of words about the annex of these initiatives. The annex refers to strengthening the rule of law of the European Agency for Fundamental Rights, which is based in Vienna, and whose opinion could be sought in order to ensure the maximum objectivity of decision by the Union's institutions, so including areas of police and security cooperation. Basically, what should be done, can be done, it's to amend the Council regulation establishing the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights. If you wish to sign, of course, there's a really dedicated website, ForMyRights.eu. It takes a few seconds to sign. You just need your valid document. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Annalisa. Filippo, if you're ready, please.
Bonjour. I'm gonna take the floor in French. Donc, je m'appelle Filippo d'Agostini, je fais partie d'une organisation qui s'appelle Action Laïque Belgo-Italienne et qui fait partie du de la galaxie plus grande de l'association qui s'appelle Comité Action Laïque. Notre association donc, est née comme une sorte, dans les années 2000, comme une sorte de pont au niveau, disons, des pratiques laïques entre l'Italie et la Belgique. Et pour cela, au cours des années, on a organisé des initiatives. Ça a été par exemple le cas où, avec l'association liée au monde radical, Charti-Diritti, on avait par exemple organisé un happening où un bourgmestre belge mariait des couples homosexuels italiens. Donc, mon intervention doit porter sur l'importance des droits civils pour l'état de droit, pour la dite rule of law. Alors, tout d'abord, je me pose la question, est-ce que la question à poser, donc, c'est est-ce que les droits civils sont vraiment importants pour l'état de droit? On vit dans une époque où se pose en fait la question des droits civils, donc les droits, disons, de minorités, qu'ils soient immigrés ou ou homosexuels appartenant à la catégorie LGBT, ou malades, ou drogués, que ce soit des droits peut-être importants, mais secondaires. C'est-à-dire que d'abord, ça serait une sorte de gadget. D'abord, les États devraient s'occuper des droits socio-économiques. Les droits socio-économiques, c'est-à-dire les problèmes liés à la pauvreté, seraient primaires. Et les restes, les dits droits civiques, seraient secondaires. Et donc, quel intérêt de s'occuper de divorce, d'avortement, de problèmes de légalisation de la drogue? C'est pas intéressant du tout. Si on regarde de près, en fait, ce type d'approche, on l'a connu notamment au sein des gauches dans les années 50-60 où on disait que les droits socio-économiques devaient primer sur les droits civils. Et donc, voilà, à nouveau, on se pose vraiment la question, est-ce vraiment possible d'avoir une démocratie où on respecte que les droits socio-économiques et où on ne respecte pas les droits civils? En fait, si on regarde de près la situation, on se rend compte en fait que les deux vont de pair, vont ensemble, ils sont tous liés. Et que il n'est pas possible d'avoir une démocratie illibérale, comme on le dit de nos jours. Un respect, un État qui s'occupe que des conditions économiques, qui ne prend en considération aucune minorité, est en réalité irréel. Il n'y a pas vraiment de liberté, il n'y a pas véritablement un aspect d'état de droit. Et comme je disais tout à l'heure, en fait, en regardant de près, on se rend compte qu'on fait tout, on est tous des minorités, d'une manière ou de l'autre. À cet égard, je voudrais traduire rapidement les mots d'un ancien député communiste et aussi député qui par la suite est passé au Parti radical dans les années 80. Il s'appelait Alessandro Tessari. Il disait que, en fait, en allant visitant les prisons en Italie, en découvrant grâce aux radicaux, il s'était rendu compte des conditions de détenus. Et il dit, cette chemin m'a mené à découvrir que le droit civil à revendiquer, ils ne sont jamais de droits de minorité, mais de presque la totalité de notre société. Et que chaque minorité, en fait, ce qui se passe, c'est que chaque minorité croit d'être l'unique minorité malchanceuse. C'est le cas pour les jeunes sans futur, pour les femmes, pour les anciens, pour les personnes avec des handicaps, pour les détenus, pour les homosexuels, pour les SDF. Toutes ces catégories, en fait, font partie de notre société. Et en regardant de près la situation, on se rend compte que même que même au sein de la catégorie qui sont majoritaires, c'est-à-dire les hommes adultes employés dans les activités productives, certains de ceux-là, la plupart en fait, se sentent appartenir à des minorités, parce qu'ils sont expulsés du travail avant les autres. En fait, on fait tous partie de minorités, d'une manière ou de l'autre. C'est pour cela que cela a une importance. Donc voilà, ça c'était pour traiter la question qui m'avait été posée. Plus en concret. L'organisation donc, auquel j'appartiens est notre et notre fédération, exactement pour cet aspect-là, pense qu'il est important de unifier, de mettre ensemble ceux qui essayent d'avoir une approche différente, une vision différente en matière d'intégration de l'immigration, des gestions des drogues, et au niveau donc de la cité, c'est-à-dire le droit à mourir, le droit à naître. Et pour cela, il est très important que, quoique en Europe, on vit dans des réalités donc, qui sont liées donc, à des cadres législatifs nationaux, donc le climat est le même plus ou moins. Tout à l'heure, j'évoquais l'idée de démocratie libérale. C'est une idée qui fait surface un peu partout en Europe. De là l'importance à ceux qui ont une vision différente, comme c'est le cas en fait de certaines manières à travers l'initiative Eumans, essayent de s'unir. Et nous, en tant que petite association qui veut faire deux ponts au niveau d'initiative laïque entre l'Italie et la Belgique, on veut offrir cela. Plus concrètement, comme je disais, locale, la fédération auquel on appartient, s'est dit ouverte à ce que une des prochaines réunions exécutives de l'initiative Eumans soit accueillie à Bruxelles dans les locaux de la fédération bruxelloise, Bruxelles Laïque. C'était mon intervention. Je reste ouvert pour toutes questions, même en anglais. Merci.
Merci à toi, Filippo. May I say just a little testimony? Alice and Virginia and myself have been recently at one of these Sardine rally that was in Milan. Since this movement, grassroots movement, free movement, apparently is fighting against hatred. So they say we part with LGBTs, minorities, and blah blah. So we went to the street with them. We went to the square, bringing with us our proposal, which is this easy eye on the rule of law. We actually found indifference, or probably just ignorance, or I don't know. They just don't consider the opportunity or the need to do something more than just going to the streets protesting or putting a flag against someone. That was, of course, just my remark. I would give now the stage to Federico Anghelè, if you're ready. Thank you.
Sì, buongiorno. I usually speak in Italian when I deal with corruption and my work, so I can easily speak in English, but when I work with, my topic, I would much prefer to use my native language, so I can do it. Sì, era per dire che userò l'italiano, ma per dirlo in inglese, per anticipare a tutti. Grazie intanto per l'invito. La prima cosa che vorrei dire è che giusto ieri abbiamo ricevuto una buona notizia, perché il Parlamento europeo, che spesso in materia di trasparenza e di lotta alla corruzione è senza dubbio più all'avanguardia di quanto non siano le altre istituzioni europee, ha approvato con numeri piuttosto significativi un nuovo intergruppo per contrastare la corruzione. Sappiamo tutti quelli che sono i limiti in realtà degli intergruppi in termini di potere reale, ma da un punto di vista simbolico due sono gli elementi da rilevare. Innanzitutto sono 142 i parlamentari che hanno firmato, che hanno sottoscritto l'intergruppo, che di fatto raddoppia il numero degli europarlamentari che lo avevano sostenuto nella precedente legislatura europea. Il secondo elemento è il fatto che ci sarà, che sono stati 3 i gruppi politici che lo hanno sostenuto, ma che soprattutto ci sarà una copresidenza dei Verdi da una parte e dall'altra parte dei Popolari. Questo a significare che mentre nella precedente legislatura il limite stesso dell'intergruppo era stato il fatto di essere identificato solo con le forze più a sinistra dell'arco politico del Parlamento. In questa maniera invece ci sarà una maggioranza molto più trasversale, con due anche linee, diciamo, diverse di identificazione, di rappresentazione della corruzione. Da una parte Roberta Mezzola della rappresentanza maltese, dall'altra parte Daniel Freund tedesco, quindi con un'idea da una parte di una corruzione che è più legata ai colletti bianchi, direi, più legata ad una visione appunto di corruzione come integrità del sistema, e dall'altra parte, come il caso maltese, come ciò che è accaduto anche negli ultimi mesi, nell'ultimo periodo a Malta, ha dimostrato una forte correlazione tra corruzione e criminalità organizzata, e l'utilizzo della corruzione da parte della criminalità organizzata come uno strumento per entrare nel sistema. Una di quelle cose di cui noi parliamo da anni. Qui al Parlamento europeo siamo stati poco ascoltati, perché un po' la visione era quella di un crimine, la corruzione, tipicamente appunto da colletti bianchi. In realtà le due visioni dovrebbero integrarsi. Dirò due cose rapide, che sono: la prima, la sfida che ci troviamo come cittadini europei è quella di far sì che uno degli ultimi atti del precedente legislatura, cioè l'approvazione di una legge per la protezione, per stabilire degli standard minimi per i whistleblower, dovrà essere oggi recepita in tutti gli Stati membri, quindi ci saranno 2 anni a partire da adesso, quindi entro la conclusione entro la fine del 2021 gli Stati membri avranno la possibilità di recepire questa direttiva importante. Perché? Perché sarà una direttiva che è una direttiva che segna non soltanto il tema di coloro i quali segnalano atti di corruzione, ma anche di violazione dei diritti fondamentali dell'Unione Europea, e quindi direi che sia davvero un tema di cui qua dobbiamo parlare e riflettere. Ripeto, dobbiamo fare in modo che questa non sia un'occasione sprecata, perché sono arrivate delle indicazioni precise da parte della direttiva, quindi da parte dell'Europa, ma allo stesso tempo gli Stati siano gli stessi fruitori dei servizi, e questa direttiva venga recepita nel migliore dei modi. Aggiungo un altro elemento che rende questo quadro ancora più importante, che è stata una direttiva fortemente voluta dai cittadini, perché oltre 90 organizzazioni a livello europeo, tanto basate a Bruxelles quanto basate in tutti gli stati europei, si sono battute per avere questa direttiva, che anche in termini di consultazione pubblica, di persone che hanno partecipato alla consultazione pubblica, ha segnato, per un tema così, tra virgolette, di nicchia, così difficilmente percepito appunto come un tema che abbia una forza dirompente per tutta l'Europa, mentre invece in realtà lo ha segnato numeri davvero rilevanti. Il secondo elemento su cui vorrei porre l'attenzione è quello del fallimento delle trattative nella precedente legislatura sulla estensione, noi ci chiamiamo The Good Lobby, per cui pensiamo ad un accesso democratico e molto più aperto alle decisioni pubbliche da parte di quanti più attori possibili. Ebbene, questo si compie anche attraverso la trasparenza delle decisioni pubbliche e anche la possibilità quindi di monitorare come le decisioni pubbliche vengono prese. C'è un grande assente nella trasparenza, nelle regole sulla trasparenza del lobbying in Europa, è il Consiglio. E direi spesso appunto vengono accusati le istituzioni europee, in questo caso la responsabilità è degli Stati membri che non hanno hanno voluto in realtà compiere quel passo affinché la trasparenza del Consiglio fosse un dato acquisito, come già avviene, ripeto, in termini di incontri con i portatori di interessi, in termini di registro dei portatori di interesse, come invece già avviene al Parlamento e alla Commissione. Sarà molto importante che già con la presidenza croata, quindi già da gennaio, la presidenza croata si impegni ad incontrare soltanto lobbisti registrati, metta in chiaro quali sono le posizioni degli Stati membri sui temi in discussione all'interno del Consiglio. E quindi anche su questo è davvero importante che ci sia una grande coalizione europea, perché chieda che le tre istituzioni, che le istituzioni europee siano allineate su questo punto e che le decisioni pubbliche siano aperte, trasparenti e responsabili. Grazie.
Thank you, Federico. So, Veneta, if you want, please.
I'm honored and it is a pleasure to be here today. I'm presenting today to you a European Citizen Initiative called Stop Corruption in Europe at its root by cutting off funds to countries with insufficient judiciary after a certain deadline. In order to explain to you in detail, I have to go back to the genesis of this initiative, which starts with the situation in two countries. I'm very happy that finally today I heard Romania and Bulgaria. We've been talking predominantly about Hungary and Poland and so on, but I think we have a very special situation, especially because if maybe perhaps some of you here today remembers that 13 years ago, when Bulgaria and Romania joined EU, there was a special mechanism called Mechanism of Verification and Cooperation that was applied. And here I'm going to quote, in order to follow and monitor the progress on judicial reform, corruption, and organized crime. This third organized crime part was only for Bulgaria. 13 years later, what is the situation? Yes, okay. 13 years later, what is the situation? Meanwhile, we have to say, despite the mechanism, Bulgaria and Romania enjoyed full rights when it comes to Eurofunding, to funds, especially when it comes to cohesion funds, as you know, because there was so much to be done. And part of this to be done was to reform the judiciary systems. That's why we came with that proposal. Currently, I'm going to speak more about Bulgaria because I come from Bulgaria, but I'm sure very soon we are going to have as well Romanian representative.
Vera, sorry to interrupt. Can you move on the other, because otherwise we are basically shooting a cup on a chair instead of you talking. So I'd rather have your face and your voice together, sorry.
Okay.
It's important to have all the details. Let's try.
Okay, that's better? Okay.
We don't know yet, yes.
Great. So, going back to the point, receiving funds and what is happening 13 years later. Practically looking at the situation, we are having the following very appalling for me statistics. Only 15% after 13 years of judiciary reforms and fight with organized crime and corruption, 15% of Bulgarians trust the national parliament, only the work of the national parliament. Only 25% trust in the work of the judiciary system. Moreover, over 80% of Bulgarians believe that nobody can catch, stop, prevent or do anything against corruption. I'm citing Eurobarometer statistic just came in the past following days. Also, if you have to look at other statistics, the field of corruption, what is happening. 111 place in the world in the index of reporters without borders for Bulgarian media. If you have a look at the map of Europe and you see the colors, Bulgaria is the only country in red color. It means really absolutely out of the statistic. 77th place in the corruption worldwide index. Those are just facts that I'm pointing out. Even the other day, the Venice Commission for I don't know which time visited Bulgaria, and again recommendations were made to Bulgarian authorities when it comes to reforms in the judiciary system. So from there, we had a look at these 7 people that we are proposing this citizen initiative. You know, the situation in Romania is very much similar, but there we had, you know, quite a lot of evidence for real fight against corruption with a lot of politicians going to jail. And the very fact that Mrs. Kövesi is the new chief prosecutor of the European Union. So this gives, you know, Romania some other results. So what is the fact which we wanted to relate? 13 years ago, there was not a deadline given nor to Bulgaria, and for us, this is a lack of the mechanism. Thinking for the future and the enlargement of the European Union, especially looking over the Western Balkans, and we are receiving, I think all of you know, some indications that maybe Macedonia and other countries will start negotiations. And the road walked by Romania and Bulgaria, we are proposing a 10-year, strict 10-year period. For member countries, once they join the EU, they have 10 years precise period, not forever, not unlimited period, to do these reforms, because we are talking about very baseline, you know, judiciary reforms in order to reach that minimum level, you know, needed and being had by the rest of the countries in the European Union. Especially, and this is our initiative. Moreover, the funds received by Bulgaria and by Romania are actually the money of all European taxpayers. And we kind of made the connection. You go to work, you receive some money to do some job. And that's why we propose this 10-year strict period when governments or future members having the mechanism will have to, you know, like to apply these reforms. It's kind of stimuli, even if you want, for any government in the moment in Bulgaria, Romania, or future members to really pay close attention and not to take such long periods, like in the case of 13 years, to reform so important system as judiciary. As you know, over 80% of Europeans believe that especially rule of law is the fundamental which you know, controls the quality of their their daily lives and anything in what they do. So a bit about the strategy. We've seen quite a lot of interest of various countries, not only countries which will be naturally concerned, Bulgaria, Romania, but as well Poland. We've seen as well from Hungary some, you know, good interest in the initiative. We are starting to have a lot of volunteers, and this is actually the main strategy of the initiative, to rely on a lot of volunteers and as well social media and media in general. I'm very happy to say we have a French member of Bulgarian origins who is also quite well-known documentary producer talking about, so we are planning as well to have a documentary or a short reportage about the initiative and to go to media. I am as well very, you know, not very happy, but let's say we had some media attention, not the one we desired, especially when it comes to Bulgaria and Romania, but coverage was done on this initiative. So we are really pointing out these two strategies, a lot of volunteers and a lot of media attention. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Veneta. Do we have any time for questions, Virginia?
We are incredibly not too late, so we have 5, 8, minutes even, if we want. So quick questions, quick answers.
I have a question for Nicolas, because you mentioned, Nicolas, the issue of the, let's say, the right to information from the perspective of freedom of the media. I think that one of the link between different European citizen initiatives is the right to information in another meaning, in the meaning of the need of European public service, in a way. So a positive information built, as there are in national countries, not functioning very well always, but still. So something that could, that should be funded even by the European Union in order to let people know about their rights and about European Union activities, not only from the EU institution, but also from participatory democracy. And what do you think, and how do you think it could be built?
I mean, I think that the European Union already does this to some extent, but with not very many resources, and also always in quite a defensive position. And I think this is the problem, that unless it's done in a coordinated way, European public service information and ensuring a more responsible media, given the continuing strength of our national spheres, the European Union is always going to be in a very defensive position. So I think the two things have to go together. I mean, I think that when it comes to ECIs, empowering, I think that the European Union doesn't have to do it all on its own. When it comes to ECIs, empowering a consortium of NGOs, maybe universities, to act as an information center for ECIs and for the citizens, this is the kind of approach I would support, rather than like a public service being delivered directly by the European Commission. Also because I think that the European Commission has proved itself to be particularly bad at communicating on its own strengths. It typically hires terrible communication agencies and spends far too much money. I think better to empower other actors who are working directly with the citizens to share this information.
More questions? Anybody? We do have some time. Please, go on.
Microphone.
Yeah. Thank you for your contribution. My wife is Bulgarian, and she's a philosopher. She gave a talk. I will connect you to her. That's all I want to say, and you will be certainly interested. She was a dissident 30 years ago. Had to leave the country, despite her father was one of the highest generals. And now she was back, and she was deeply disappointed. And I can only agree to you, but she gave a courageous talk, and you will have a tape for it. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
I thank you so very much.
Right. I think the point is that once you become a EU member state, you are probably, I mean, not such an object of investigation by you. Probably if you are not yet a EU member state, as it recently happened with Macedonia and gone, you are under the lens of investigators. By the way, more questions, anybody? Please, Sibilla.
Ok, farò il mio intervento in italiano. Volevo dire che secondo me
In my opinion,
uno dei problemi
one of
dell'informazione è
the
che
problems of
l'informazione non è
information
stata
is that
considerata un potere.
information has
quindi la
not
nostra
been
Costituzione
considered
non l'ha
a source of
diviso dagli
power
altri.
until now,
In
and
realtà
our
questo è
institution
un
has
problema
not
a monte.
been
In Italia,
sharing
prima
this
di
power. So
Berlusconi,
this is
c'è
an
stato un
upstream
personaggio,
problem
che era un
from longer
costruttore,
ago.
che ha sommato due temi
Before
trattati oggi,
Berlusconi,
corruzione e
we
informazione,
had the
in quanto comprava
there was
il
already a
giornale
link between
del posto dove
corruption
doveva
and
costruire,
information.
e
There
ha
was
fatto un salto nella
a
corruzione
builder who
direttamente
understood this
infiltrando la
and
politica
who
e mettendo
managed to
la persona a
infiltrate
cui doveva chiedere
politicians
della posizione
by
che desiderava.
finding out
Allora,
who was the
l'informazione e la
person
corruzione
responsible for
vanno pari
the
passo.
site where he wanted to
Il
build.
problema
So
è anche che
that's
adesso
how
l'informazione
he
si sta
managed to combine
spostando.
information
Gli
with
altri poteri hanno un
corruption.
luogo dove avvengono, Parlamento, tribunali.
Other
L'informazione
sources of
invece è
power
come se
have
fosse
a
un fiume,
concrete
è ovunque. E quindi
site
in
like a
realtà
parliament
si sta spostando tra
or a
l'altro dalla
court,
carta
but
stampata,
information
che
is
vorrei
diffused. It's
considerare
not
anche il
concentrated
fatto
in
che
one
i
particular
giornali sono in
place.
perdita. E se sono in perdita,
And
come
of course,
fanno
it's
a
not
vivere?
concentrated in the
Quindi questo ci dice anche
newspapers
sulla
either. The
corruzione.
newspapers are losing, and so they're
Quindi vorrei
struggling
dire che
to
in realtà
survive. And all
dobbiamo
this is
capire
favouring
come la
corruption.
rete,
We need to
oltre ad avere una
understand
struttura che può
how
indicare un nuovo modo di fare politica, come la rete può diventare
how politics has
questo
changed
meccanismo.
and how
L'idea di
our
rendere
network
i
can
cittadini
become a
partecipi
new
significa creare una visione virtuosa,
vision,
una visione virtuosa che potrebbe portare molto lontano. Potrebbe
vision of this
riavvicinare
new
i cittadini
distribution
che si
of
sono
power.
allontanati, come
We
quelli
need
che stava citando
to
Simona.
bring
Cioè,
citizens
perché
who
la
feel
gente
a
non
long way
firma?
away from power
Allora, quali
closer
sono i
to
me-
it.
perché io dico che in questo consesso, dove in qualche modo
People
siamo tutti
who are not
d'accordo,
signing petitions,
ci
why are
manca,
they not signing
la
petitions?
possibilità di parlare con
I
i
agree
cittadini,
that we
dove li
are
possiamo
short of
incontrare, come li possiamo
opportunities to
incontrare, quali
talk to
sono i nostri
citizens. Where
mezzi
can we meet
per arrivare a
citizens?
loro.
What
E possono
media do
essere
we
di
use to reach
informazione,
out to
possono essere
citizens?
sicuramente di
We
fondi,
have to use
di fondi
information,
per
but
arrivare
we
a
also
questo.
need,
Quindi
we also
secondo me
still
ci
need
dobbiamo porre il
money.
problema di come aprire
We need
questa
financial
scatola dove noi
resources.
siamo
So we
d'accordo
we
per
all
poter
agree
parlare con
among
quelli che veramente
ourselves,
potrebbero fare la
but we
differenza.
need to reach out to those who can really make a difference.
Un'osservazione molto breve, anch'io in italiano.
I'd like to make a brief
C'è un'altra
observation in Italian as well.
parallelo da
There is
oltre a
another
quello che hai fatto tu, Simona,
parallel,
cioè che
apart from the
se
one
uno
you drew
Stato
yourself,
è ancora fuori
Simona.
dall'Unione Europea
If a country
e
is
vuole
still
entrare,
outside the
è
European
sottoposto a
Union and
dei
it wants
meccanismi di
to
analisi e di
join,
valutazione
it's subject
molto
to
rigidi.
very
Una volta che è
rigid
entrato nell'Unione
analysis
Europea
and
non esiste
evaluation
un meccanismo
mechanisms.
se non
But once it's got
la
inside
sospensione
the EU,
dall'Unione
the
Europea
only
stessa,
mechanism we
che deve
have
essere
is
decisa all'unanimità e
suspension
quindi
from
evidentemente
of
non è uno
membership, which
strumento
is
praticabile.
has to be decided on unanimously, and
Quando la
so
nostra
in practice
iniziativa dei
it's never
cittadini europei
used.
propone un meccanismo di monitoraggio
So
permanente,
we are proposing
si potrebbe anche non capire bene che
permanent
cosa vogliamo
monitoring
dire. Cosa vogliamo
mechanism.
dire? Il
Now,
monitoraggio in che
citizens
senso?
might not
Allora credo che
understand
il
immediately
parallelo, il
what we
paragone
mean
da
by
fare
that. I
esplicitamente
think
sia quello economico,
the comparison we
cioè
need to make is with
paesi
the
come
economic
l'Italia, che sono in
mechanism.
difficoltà
So
con il
countries like
rispetto dei
Italy, who
parametri
are finding it
economici
difficult
sul
to
debito pubblico,
respect
sul deficit,
economic criteria relating
sono
to the
costantemente
national debt
monitorati
and budget
in
deficits,
un modo preciso,
are
cioè
kept under
quando
constant scrutiny. They're
si fa la legge di
constantly
bilancio,
monitored
tutti i paesi
when
membri in realtà la devono
every
mandare a
country,
Bruxelles
when it produces a
prima,
draft budget law, has to send the
la
draft
Commissione europea
to
fa le
Brussels
sue
first,
valutazioni.
and the
Questo avviene
Commission
in molti momenti
assesses
dell'anno
that draft
e ci sono
budget.
degli uffici con, immagino,
And this
centinaia
happens
di
at many.
funzionari che studiano i
There are many
bilanci
deadlines
nazionali
throughout
voce
the
per
year
voce
where the national
e
budget is under
emettono
scrutiny.
delle valutazioni che
Officials
possono
are
portare a
scrutinizing it
procedure di
item by
infrazione,
item.
ma anche alle delle
And this
lettere
can
di
lead to
richiamo che
infringement
hanno degli
proceedings, it
effetti
can
sui
lead to
mercati
warning
internazionali.
letters, and these have palpable effects on international markets. So they're forced to take notice of the Commission's recommendations. The same thing should happen for political things like the freedom of the judiciary, freedom of minorities, freedom of the media, respecting political ground rules in general. There are a few officials in the Commission who are looking at these things, but there are no structures, and there should be parallel structures to the economic structures and mechanisms, and they need to create the same kind of permanent monitoring, permanent scrutiny, so that there can be immediate reactions and, if necessary, sanctions. Not, of course, not throwing somebody out of the EU. That, of course, will never happen. It's too drastic a sanction. So this political scrutiny shouldn't just apply to countries outside the EU waiting to get in. It should also apply to countries inside the EU. They should not only have to respect economic criteria, but also civil liberties and democratic liberties.
By EU. If I think to the recent memorandum of understanding signed by the Italian government with the so-called Libyan government, over there is a huge breach of any fundamental rights that should be granted by EU, and there is a clear complicity of EU institutions, because that's, it's beneficial for each of them, just to this idea to preserve the external border in a way in which we just don't care about how people are treated in these Libyan jails, let's call it that. So, who else want to do a question? Yeah, please.
Just a very quick intervention. We've been talking really since yesterday on the fact that we have a lack of any kind of any other action than, triggering Article 7, which is not very desirable. But I would like to remind you here that on 17th of January this year, the European Parliament voted and adopted a regulation that is linking rule of law and euro funds. And this should go very shortly, I believe, in the Council, and from there on is going to be absolutely a working regulation in future in Europe, which is a good middle way. We just have to see, as like it was pointed, what we understand and what rule of law comprehends and consists of, what kind of, let's say, criteria we want inside the, let's say, efficiency of judiciary, fundamental rights, fight against corruption, fight against this, and I think we are all well informed that the Commission is working and creating such a mechanism for all European countries, no matter, under or without monitoring. So I think civil organizations as well, NGOs, citizens are going to have a very big role in the coming months to design this, criteria of rule of law and to say explicitly what we expect. Thank you.
Please go.
Io parlo in italiano, ma la cosa che per cui intervengo è
well, the reason I am taking the floor is on the subject of information. In my opinion, it is very difficult
raffigurare una sorta di regola
to produce any kind of rules about who should have the right to speak and how they have the right to speak. In Italy, we have a situation
dell'immaginario. Praticamente si è riversato nell'immagine, non nella cosa.
Where
ma questa era una faccenda già
the information we are hearing is often purely imaginary, purely based on images and not on facts. And so we have this problem of managing images, managing the imagination more than factual information.
Quindi è chiaro che improvvisamente, in una maniera
The whole thing
geniale,
has become a
c'è stata
show
questa
or a
invasione,
spectacle involving the
totalmente inimmaginabile.
manipulation
Nessuno
of
poteva immaginare
images.
delle
And to be honest,
regola,
nobody
cioè,
could
una sorta
have
di
imagined
entrare in
this,
campo in maniera, come dire, completamente senza regole da parte
that
di
we
Berlusconi.
would see a
E ha
complete
creato un modello, cioè ha creato un
flouting
modello
of
che
the rules,
praticamente noi
discarding
abbiamo
of the
sempre
rules,
chiamato,
starting
definito
with
la peste italiana,
Berlusconi.
diciamo, il
This
virus
is
che a un certo
the
punto ha
Italian
vinculato questa storia,
plague
diciamo
or
così,
the
a prendere
Italian
il media,
virus.
addirittura poi si è
Which
arrivata
it all started in
insomma,
Italy. You
a
have a
livello
powerful
mondiale,
man taking
insomma,
over the
la
media, and
sofisticazione,
this has been now
l'alterazione delle notizie ai
replicated
fini,
on a global
diciamo così, del
level,
condizionamento.
but it
Però c'è
started
un
in
problema,
Italy.
e il problema è chi, cioè, come si fa a dire che c'è un'illegittimità in tutto questo?
How can one
Cioè, se si perpetua
prove that
la
anything
vicenda
that this is
appunto moralista,
unlawful, though, or illegitimate?
Nello stabilire il bene e il male, credo che
One
sia
has to take a
completamente,
moralistic
tant'è bene
view
che non ci
and
sono
establish
arbitri dello
oneself
Stato
on
su questa vicenda. Tuttora oggi, cioè,
as a
giorno dopo
judge of
giorno,
what is
quindi
good and
noi
what
dovremmo
is bad.
sforzarci di comprendere
So,
come, ma non in maniera moralista, in maniera appunto,
but of course,
e quindi
anybody can
uno
take a
delle
moralistic
possibilità, secondo me,
stance,
è
and I think we need to avoid
reindividualizzare le
falling
azioni.
into that
Cioè,
trap.
quando
We need
quando c'è stata
to
un'introduzione
re-individualize
da parte dei
politics.
funzionari, i nostri amici che ci hanno accolto in questa sede, cioè
We
questo è un luogo
had
dove c'è
we
l'intermediazione
heard
delle
some
categorie, che è un
speeches
termine
from
fascista.
officials
Cioè non c'è
in
il
the
riconoscimento
Economic and
delle
Social
individualità e
Committee,
delle singolarità
and we
in
heard
quanto
them talking about
portatori
categories,
di
economic
diritti o di
categories. This
riconoscimento.
harks back
Finché
to
c'è questa sorta
fascist
di
thinking in which the rights of
mediazione,
the
diciamo così,
individual are not
collettivizzazione, è difficile
recognized.
trovare un
We need to be
chiaramente
careful
ci
about
sono
these
anche
traditions
delle
of
situazioni
collectivization,
che vanno oltre, come appunto la
because
faccenda che
these
ognuno
can,
può pubblicare qualcosa della rete.
of
Questo
course,
c'è sicuramente lo
individualism can go
superamento,
too far, as
però
well as we're seeing with
indubbiamente
the
è proprio
internet, where every
questo
individual
ambito
has the
adesso
right
si
to
gioca la
publish
battaglia.
something on the internet.
Questo volevo dire.
But I think we still need to combat for individual rights.
Thank you. Anybody else? We have just few minutes. All right. Nobody? So I think we can stop it here. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, the panelists. And we can go with the next panel.
Yes, we can. We just missed one panelist, but in the meantime, we can brief. Okay, no, thanks, Simone, and thanks for all of you. I think the connection between fundamental rights, human rights, and knowledge of rights is quite an important element. And